Hi guys, it's Rebecca from Wellness with Beck. I'm interviewing Chris today, CJ on the Border on Instagram. So we're just going to speak a little bit about mental health. So hi Chris, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So we're going to speak a little bit about mental health. So do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself and your experience with mental health?
Yeah, sure. I'm 30 this year. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety when I was 14 years old. And then I got re-diagnosed last year with borderline personality disorder. So it was really difficult to get my head around at the time, because for years, even though I'd had the diagnosis of depression and anxiety when I was young, I always knew there was something more to it, and I couldn't explain it. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew that there was something else, something more to it. So when I got my answer last year, the diagnosis the second time around actually came as like a bit of a relief in some respects, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, knowing there was something else. No.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a lot more serious than depression and anxiety, but it gave me loads of answers to questions that I've had for years and years and years. But what I wasn't prepared for were the questions that it then raised about things that had happened in the past that I perhaps hadn't considered in that context. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but yeah, the long and short of it is I've suffered with mental illness for sort of half my life now. So.
Okay, and what treatment did you have for that? Was it different to what you were receiving before?
When I was diagnosed, when I was young, I was with the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service, so I was given medication, saw a psychiatrist, and had counselling, quite basic stuff. And then years went by where I didn't stay on top of my mental health in the way that I should have done, and that led up to my breakdown at the beginning of last year. And then I received DBT therapy, dialectical behavioural therapy, last year to help with my borderline personality disorder. And it was a game, it saved my life. I genuinely believe that. So obviously there's loads of things over the years that I've tried and tested and failed. CBT being another one, cognitive behavioural therapy for my anxiety and depression, which a lot of people speak quite highly about. It didn't really do a huge amount for me, but the thing with mental health recovery is that everyone's different and everyone's approach to their recovery is different.
Definitely, yeah.
There's not one thing that suits everyone, isn't it?
There's tons of things that help different people. It's mad what would work for one person wouldn't work for another. It's trial and error, as they say, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it was very much that as well, not just with the therapy side of things, but with the medication as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I've tried all sorts of different medication over the years, things for just depression, sleep, mood stabilizing type medications and stuff. So yeah, it is very trial and error, definitely.
Yeah. Are you on different medication now to the medication that you were on with anxiety and depression?
Yeah. Still under med review at the moment, but at the moment I'm only taking mirtazapine. It helps with sleep as well. Whereas previously I tried everything from fluoxetine, sertraline, escitalopram, venlafaxine, melatonin for sleep. Tried it all.
Yeah. Can I ask, actually, just that we're touching off that, what was it that you knew that there was something different with the anxiety and depression? What made you think that there was something more to it? Were you always struggling with the sleep and the medication that you're on now for something different? Was that always the case?
The sleep's always been a bit of a problem, but it wasn't that. It was my mood and my behaviour, it's quite ironic because I've been writing a book about mental health for years, and I did a lot of research into all sorts of different mental health conditions, from bipolar disorder, OCD, PTSD, things like that. And the only one that I never researched was borderline personality disorder, and lo and behold, I got the diagnosis. But I knew how I behaved, how I acted, my relationships with people. I knew that how I was acting, particularly when I was a lot younger, there was more to it. It wasn't just that I was depressed, because I'd get the highs as well.
Yeah.
I get the manic episodes, but it's very short-lived. And I could never put my finger on it. It was just a mystery until last year when, as I said, I got the new diagnosis, and it came as a bit of a relief in most respects.
Yeah, definitely, because you were giving something else that, oh yeah, that is it, and then you'd something else to work towards.
Exactly that. Well, that was then obviously getting that diagnosis, that then provided me with the framework for my recovery. So that's when, on the back of that, change medication, prescribed different tablets, and then obviously the psychotherapy side of it, so the dialectical behaviour therapy and things like that. So without the diagnosis. Pardon?
It was more tailored to that then, so it was,
definitely. DBT there's so many useful tools that you can get from DBT to help with specific parts of BPD. So like crisis management, the day-to-day stuff, mindfulness is a huge part of it. But it gives you loads of different tools to work with to tackle different aspects of the illness.
That sounds very helpful.
Honestly, I'd recommend it to anyone. And I've actually got, if you go on my Instagram and go on my highlights, story highlights, I've put a lot of my paperwork from therapy onto my highlights. So the printout sheets and everything are there. So actually, if anyone is struggling with borderline, they can go on, and most of the good stuff's on there anyway.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we'll have you tagged in this as well anyway, so they'll be able to pop on. That brings me into my next question. I was going to ask what helped you the most. So it was definitely that.
Definitely DBT. Yeah. I think at different times in my life, different things have helped. So early in my life, when I was young, counselling, just talking and stuff was like a huge help for me at the time. I had anger management classes and things as well. That was probably the most helpful thing at that stage of my life, and the medication was at that point. Yeah. But then there's been periods where the medication did more harm than it did good. Just with changes in lifestyle and things like that, I made a few big lifestyle changes, like moving away and things like that. And the medication didn't always suit such dramatic changes in my life. So the thing that's probably helped me most at any one given point throughout my journey with different diagnosis was definitely the DBT last year that I was offered, which took about 6 months to complete, once a week, one-to-one with a psychologist. And that I genuinely, without that I wouldn't be probably here talking to you now, genuinely.
And it's not something that you hear of frequently, actually. You'd usually hear CBT or counselling or, and then medication, mindfulness, but you would never hear about that. It's actually
not necessarily. So it's very, very specific and tailored for the traits of borderline personality disorder. There's a few things in it from CBT that it takes, and there's also, like I said, mindfulness is a huge part of it, which is also a big thing that's rolled out into therapy, as you know, as well, across various different illnesses and stuff as well. So it's very tailored though.
Yeah. And what was the biggest struggle for you with your diagnosis? What did you find you struggled with the most?
Which one? Well, the first time I was diagnosed, obviously I was really young, and back then mental illness wasn't talked about. So the biggest struggle then, especially as I was a kid, was just keeping it to myself. I didn't want anyone to know. So only my mum and my dad and my sister knew. So that was hard, trying to keep it to myself and deal with it. My mum and dad, as great as they have been at times, they weren't particularly supportive at the time. They couldn't get their head around why, I was not well. So the biggest struggle at the time was just sort of trying to overcome the fear of the stigma and actually just talking about it. second time round, last year when I was re-diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, the biggest obstacle was probably the fact that it's such, again, although I've been open about my mental health for years now, because BPD is particularly stigmatized because of how it can cause people to react and act and things. That's, again, it was like back to square one. So it was almost like, well, I've been open from day one, I can talk about it, blah blah, but this was like, this is going to knock me back a bit because this is a big one. And then the therapy is hard work, and to anyone that might be listening to this, it's easy to give up. It's not an easy thing to stick it out, basically. It's hard because you've got to really it's not just an hour in your session and then you're out, and it's an hour next week. You've really got to carry on and put those skills that you've learned into practice, because if you don't practice the skills, they're never going to become part of you. They're never going to become a habit. So the biggest obstacle really this time around was just trying to get into a routine of actually practicing the skills, because that's the most important thing. If you don't do that, then you're not going to gain anything from it.
Yeah, no, that is true. You really do need to put in the work to get it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Now, as well, with being a man and the stigma, the taboo, what would you say to other men out there struggling with their mental health that just wouldn't speak about it?
You've got to you've got to talk about it. It's as simple as that. But when I couldn't the first time around, when I was first diagnosed with a mental illness, was I found some solace in writing how I felt.
Yeah.
So rather than just opening up to somebody, I kept the journal, kept the diary, kept writing things down, and that was huge because it helped me. It was like everything was like jumbled up inside your head. When you put it down on paper, it sort of puts everything into like some sort of order for you to try and understand. But yeah, obviously being a man as well, it's really. I mean, even when I know guys now that I speak to that I know suffer with mental illness, and they won't dare open up to anyone about it. They just wouldn't, because they're worried about what society will think of them. They stigmatise men for being weak or, lazy in some respects. And that's not the case at all. If anything, it takes strength and it takes courage to actually talk about it.
Definitely, I agree 100%. And that's the fear with men, is they don't want to speak about it. Like as you said, it's classed weak, but that's the strongest thing you will do, is speak about mental health. I don't 100%. Think anybody understands that. It just takes so much strength. It's unbelievable. And
it's a relief. It's so, because you're living with like a secret. When you get that off your chest as well, it's such a relief. It lifts a lot of the anxiety and stuff as well. You wouldn't believe. So the only way you'll ever know is to do it. It's as simple as that. But you won't regret it.
No, definitely not. So what advice would you give to other men in your position now that just coming out with their mental health? Would it be to just speak about it, or?
Definitely just find some somebody that you trust to talk to honestly and openly about it. A starting point, like I said, for me, when I couldn't do that, was to start at least writing. So I was almost talking to myself about it. But there's loads of help through charities, through GPs and things like that, and all the other care services that are available. There's so much on offer there. It's not always immediate, and the NHS isn't as, it could be funded better when it comes to mental health. But there's so much support, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing now. More and more people are talking about this. It's getting to become normal now. I know that more and more workplaces now are introducing mental care days, where you can take days off now for your mental health if you're getting stressed out and stuff. It's becoming a normal thing. So jump on it, while it's getting big now, and it's sort of ride the wave almost with everyone else. It's now's the time when all the support is there and it's right in front of you.
Yeah, definitely. I've never heard about mental health spoken about so much now in
I know, it's so encouraging as well, because when I first came out, if you will, there was nothing. There was no real, it's only been in the last few years that it's really picked up momentum.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more and more normal. So there's no reason to not talk about it now.
Yeah. And how are you managing now the crisis, the current situation that we're in at the moment?
Not as bad as I thought. It's a bit difficult. It's different for me this time last year. I was stuck in the house anyway because I was too poor, I was too ill to go out anywhere. So it's a little bit, mine sort of plays tricks on me a little bit. I've been stuck in the house in the same environment under a similar scenario, and it's a little bit tricky, but trying to keep to a routine, keeping busy doing jobs and things, and it's going okay so far, I think.
Yeah, that's good. I think a lot of people are kind of struggling now with that, being out of routine as well, and stuck in home with their thoughts, and not knowing, because as we've said before, we've kind of come a long way with our diagnosis now at the moment. We're kind of at the stage now where we know how to manage it, whereas there's a lot of people now who have just recently been diagnosed. And I know if this was me when I was recently diagnosed, having to be stuck in the house, not being able to see anybody, and you're stuck with your thoughts, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to think, you don't, like, it's a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's hard for anyone. I mean, obviously there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of uncertainty for not just people that suffer with mental health problems. Everyone's struggling.
Everybody right now.
So in some respects, you can kind of, people who do suffer, you can almost not, I think how to word this, not take comfort in that, but it's kind of reassuring to know that you're not on your own.
We're all in this together.
Exactly that.
We're all in it. So what are you doing to keep yourself occupied? What are you doing to keep yourself in a bit of a routine?
Trying to make sure that I still get up at a good time in the morning so I can get out of bed and keep my body clock and everything ticking over. Just staying hydrated, drinking loads of water, and then keeping myself busy, whether it be cleaning the car, the house, always cleaning. Cleaning's great because I find I use it as like a bit of a metaphor almost for my mental health. So it's like staying on top of all the bad stuff, just like keeping it clean. Do you know what I mean?
Decluttering as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, same with gardening. So I use gardening as like another sort of similarity where, if you try and, if you leave the garden for too long, the weeds become overgrown. It almost looks like something that you don't even then want to start to tackle, a bit like your mental health. If you don't stay on top of your self-care, things will start building up to a point that you put it off. You don't want to tackle it then because it becomes too much of a big thing. If you stay on top of it and just weed it every so often, stay on top of it, and and then that's my little technique that I use and I think of.
Oh, that's great. And we touched as well off books recently, haven't
books
we?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I've done quite a bit of reading lately actually, and books was finding books. I was never a big reader or a writer, so for somebody that's now written a book, it's come quite a way. But yeah, books helped me massively, which I could talk to you for a while about how books actually helped me, to be fair.
So maybe we could do that another time, if you'd like. We could come on and speak about some books that we found.
Yeah, definitely. Because that, for me, the one book that I read, which I won't say what it is yet, that changed my life, because it changed how I thought about everything, not just about myself, but everything around me. So yeah, I'd be up for doing that.
Definitely. We'll have to arrange that. So thanks so much for coming on and speaking to us, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we'll speak to you again.
Take care.
Okay, speak to you then. Bye.
Bye-bye.